Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to VicenzaOro January 2018. I'm Marco Carniello, I'm the Jewelry Division Director for Italian Exhibition Group, and on behalf of our President Lorenzo Cagnoni, Vice President Matteo Marzotto, and Managing Director Corrado Facco, I welcome all of you in Vicenza. Today, just a couple of words before the TRENDVISION starts. Trends are in the DNA of VicenzaOro, as you might see from whatever you see around. Trends is what we focus in, because of course we need to. We are in Italy. We think we have been investing quite a lot in trends and in research of trends in the last year, and you know the demonstration of this is you guys. You filled all this room, so. What you see today is a small part of the research we're doing this year and we have been doing for the last years, but I suggest to you and I recommend you to go to our website and see all the contents we're going to provide to you free on our digital channels. So you visit trendvision.com or plusforecasting.com, sorry, but please follow us and especially follow Paola, which I introduce. Paola De Luca is the soul of TRENDVISION. She's an incredible art director for our observatory. So please, Paola, I give you the floor. Where are you?
I'm here.
Okay. Thank you, Paola, for everything you do for us, and let's enjoy this session with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Welcome, benvenuti. Happy New Year to all of you. We are starting the year, so we are very excited. I want to thank you for your presence. It's an honor for me to always have such a full room. I'm humbled by your presence, and my team, our team, is also humbled by your interest in trend forecasting. So today we'll do a very, let's call it brief overview on consumer updates 2018-19. Before I start, as always, I'd like to say a few things about what is forecasting, because not all of you are familiar with our research and our work. It's very different. I'm very precise and difficult in saying that we do not just identify trends, we do trend forecasting. The difference between trend forecasting and just cool hunting is we collect semiotic data throughout the year, and we organize this information. So forecasting is the use of historical data to determine the direction of future trends. Forecasting is used to determine how to allocate their budget for the upcoming period of time. This is typically based on demands for goods and services a company offers. Investors utilize forecasting to determine if events will affect a company. So an event could be the stock market crashing, a war, an earthquake, consumer changes, social cultural changes, migration, how migration is changing our environment, religion, many aspects, and how these phenomena are strongly affecting our consumer attitude and therefore also our spending and the way we purchase our goods and jewelry. So forecasting provides an important benchmark for firms which have a long-term perspective on operation. So trend forecasting is essential knowledge for company, and it's really crucial to create strategy. So the concept of strategy is very important. So when very often I receive the question, but you are a trendsetter. I am not a trendsetter. I define myself an analyst. We collect information, we analyze this information, and we bring reports. There are other companies in the world that they are doing something similar. We are specialized in luxury and in particular jewelry, fine jewelry, but not only diamonds, but also nowadays also non-precious jewelry, because the concept of jewelry has changed, has evolved, so the luxury perspective. So understanding consumer culture and taste translates into knowing values, languages, design, atmosphere, product dilections, and colors. So So today we'll do a very quick overview on how these phenomenon are affecting the jewelry industry and luxury, and this, let's call it journey, the trend vision journey that we do every time. It's really is about understanding how the industry is changing and how it's affecting our business. Most important topic is digital culture. Digital culture translates into not only, let's start from the end of the channel, meaning the distribution, not only the way we are purchasing in jewelry today and we are trading, but it's very important the way we are socializing, communicating, new perspective of taste, interacting, values. So digital culture is very important, and we'll see how the consumers, which are us, are really morphing, evolving, communicating, socializing, expressing their emotion in digital age. So today we'll touch base on the gender neutralists, the middle, the ethical modernists, the retrofuturists, and the men. Now, regardless of the name that we use to classify a consumer profile, it's very important that we understand the values of these people, which at the end of everything, those are who will buy our jewelry and express themselves through our jewelry. So, to start with what we call the gender neutralist, it's important to say that the role of the gender, meaning female and male, is more flexible, especially in the segment of the millennial generation. The old roles, the stereotypes of the past have changed. Everything is more flexible. And this particular profile is very much concentrated in what we call hyper-individualism. Now, individualism, it's something that it's really the way we wish to express ourselves. And in this frantic, chaotic world, we need more and more to identify and tell our stories. Now, let me connect it immediately in the collections, because it might sound very far from our everyday life and our business, but how does it translate in jewelry? Asymmetric jewelry, collectible items, earrings this season started to be sold by piece and not by pair. Women and men are piercing more and more. They have more ears, and they don't have just one. So they are mix and matching, and this mix and matching to their taste, it's a way of expressing their hyper-individualism. So you might say, who cares about this hyper-individualism? What should I buy? Well, I'll tell you what to buy as a fish, but I'll try to teach you how to fish as well. Because if you are acting without knowing why you're doing it, you might not do the right purchase, because you might not buy for the right consumer. Because it's important that when you have a consumer walking in your store, or even more, going on your website, you have to communicate with this consumer. And this consumer has clear language and a clear alphabet. And this alphabet, the beautiful thing is on the internet, is in the internet. And in the internet, so let me go here. So these people are, it's a shift from most extreme and clean minimalism. So it's completely, we are changing. These directions are not necessarily something, when we talk about also macro trends, they don't last a season, because we're talking about values of the consumer. So here we're talking about strategies, not by just saying buy the earring or buy minimal. We are explaining why. And that doesn't mean that you have to do it. This is another important thing, because I have sometimes either retailer or manufacturer design, they say, well, but I do my own thing. You should do your own thing, but it's important that you are informed what's happening around you. And the knowledge is power. Culture is power. It's important to be aware of what's happening around in terms of how the world is changing, how it's communicating, what's out there, and maybe we'll find your positioning that could be so unique that makes you powerful. So female and male and gender neutral consumer are fighting against, you know, this concept of, okay, now we're talking about men's world. It's a moment now, I don't want to be politically incorrect, but it's a moment that there is a new wave of, let's call it feminism. It's something that you should know, but it's not the feminism of the 60s and the 70s, it's something else. It's a new way of being. Again, I don't want to talk about politics because that's the point, but let's say that there are values that are becoming a little bit more worldly, and you know, there are some glass ceilings. So now there are some kind of explosion in the media. They are debatable or not, but at the end of the day, millennials are more equal, let's say, and even the way we are communicating and interacting and yes, even like, you know, socializing on media or not is changing. This concept of beauty diversity, these people, I mean, in this world of this consumer, it's very important to talk about consumer diversity and being, we anticipated this concept of imperfection or I am perfect. Because who said that I'm imperfect? Based on what? Who said that you should be tall, slim, or short and fat, blonde, or dark? It doesn't matter. A new concept of beauty has become the new beauty, and this imperfection is reflecting also in fashion, let's call it style, because fashion is about expressing contemporary time, and of course jewelry. So when I was talking about asymmetry, this asymmetry is not a mistake, it's done on purpose. So the way even a pavé, a surface might seem apparently then is done, you know, by chance, but is studied. So it's an organic way of doing a certain pavé. So this imperfection that happens in nature, it becomes something unique and beautiful. So the concept of industrializing is no longer. So we are finally at the cusp and the beginning of a fantastic era of being unique, bespoke pieces, limited edition, independent companies. That means small companies, they have a unique saying, they are finally emerging. It's a very difficult time is going to be for the big global brands, and the global brands could be high-end or lower-end. In clothing or anything is too industrial. So manufacturers and players should start working from China to India to Italy to whatever, to Istanbul, to really work on micro collection, small collection with identity and or commodities, but commodities we all know, and by commodity I mean basic product that should be done today with a certain quality, and or you have to attack the emerging economies, mint in this particular case. So as you can see here, we are really focusing on this concept of digital culture. In our report, that's why I like to do that. This is now, today we are presenting just a small abstract of this document, which will be released shortly. I have to anticipate that TRENDVISION, Jewellery Forecasting, will launch subscription-based in June, all year round research. So we will have material uploaded on a weekly basis. It's not a news website, it is a forecasting, design inspiration, and a website. So it's for marketers, designers, manufacturers, and insiders. So as you can see, digital culture for us is very important because it gives you the instrument, the tools to really get into this consumer. So of course, this is a very brief overview. It's not in-depth research. But as you can see, we are even identifying hashtags. Now, the beauty of hashtag is exactly what we do. We classify. So imagine that our images, the way we collect information, are collected with hashtags. And based on the number, the millions of a certain hashtag, we understand the relevance of one particular emerging phenomenon or consolidated phenomenon. So as you can see, hashtag feminism, body positive, pay gap, everyday sexism, self-care, self-love. These people are really about really respect human rights, is also, we are saying, well, I mean, do I care about all these informations by selling diamonds? Well, you have to. At least you have to be aware, because people might buy a piece or not based on ethical jewelry, based on their, racial background, color, skin, disposable income, and belief. So if you know who you have in front of you, you know exactly who you are talking to, and therefore you can sell better your product. So as you can see in this overview of this particular consumer, we are giving you like also emerging brands, people they might be completely unknown. But one thing that I want to show you is that this thing from Australia to Denmark to California to France, when we spot and identify an emerging phenomenon, it's not local. It's not local because it's important to be local, but not local. And for us, everything that is interesting. So what we advise you to do is that to really start following this lead on these trails to give you really an understanding. And you might discover that you relate to this kind of world, that your jewelry, or you are a good producer of this jewelry, or a good seller of this jewelry, or a good designer of this jewelry, and you will know how to communicate. Very important note regardless of the consumers. Digital distribution and digital reason. Now, digital age will not erase retailing. But retailing, it's part of trading with digital age. So they go together. If you have a website, but you don't have a very good social strategy, you cannot be successful. Because having a good website, it's like having a good store in a street that no one knows. So you have to let people know where you are staying, what you're doing, your initiative, and your values. It's full of stores. They don't need another store. It's full of websites. They don't need another website. Why should you be so unique? If you see you are unique just because you're posting your earring at $99.99, I'll give you a bad news. You're not going to sell it easily, because you are facing many other websites at that level. It's called being lazy. But if you are selling your earring at $99.99 with the concept, with the message, with something that is adding something, let's use the word emotional, to your consumer, then they might listen to you. And the website and the socials, it also knowing which social. This is something also that we talk about, because not every social is good, platform is good for every consumer. So in this particular, let's say, environment or world or classification, we have seen now for a few seasons, and you know that, lightweight collectible product. Lightweight collectible product. What does it mean? Lightweight tubing or wire work, very lightweight. Diamonds, accent. This is a very good category for diamonds in particular. These pieces are thin and airy because they're supposed to be collected by the consumers. Consumer will buy these pieces and will collect and make their own wardrobe to really express their hyper individualism. Collection, they are created with a fil rouge or common denominator or product identity, but they are created with items. Let me explain. If you walk in a Zara store, okay, or these places, they sell items divided by moment of the day or occasion. You have the work time, you have the whatever evening, you have the sport time, but it's not all matchy-matchy. The jacket not necessarily is going to be matching with the pants, like in the past. And the skirt not necessarily is going to be matched with one particular shirt. So people pick and choose as they please. So collections, colleagues, should be done not by your taste and your way of matching, because they might not like it. Collections that are popular today, they are basically created by making the freedom of making your own choice and your own collection. See the great success of the beads, bracelets that people mix and match, or anything that is collectible, and the collectible concept, either for men or women, and the stackable and layering concept, now also for earrings, sold by piece and not by pair, so give the choice to your client to pick and choose as they want it, is really the way to go. Now, of course, in this world, diamonds, we said pearls. Pearls, I would say, is a very strong category, regardless of which consumer, story, directions. Pearls, either they are round or freshwater or cashew, either the Tahitian or white or whatever color, they're very popular because they've been revamped in a new perspective. It's not old lady or grandma style, but they're hip and cool. They might be ear cuff or like little light cable, like, you know, just slip it in jewelry to go in and out from the gym or something simple, as you can see. In terms of product category, we saw that ear cuff are very important. We saw that the open rings, either 1 or 2 fingers, is very popular. Front and back, kind of a little bit edgy. You know, again, little focus on, you know, the demographic, even though we often speak of demographic. I mean, psychographic. Demographic, millennial, people that they go from 19 to 25, 28, and then we get into what we present, the middle, which we go after, which has a very important power spending, and no one, I mean, no one is talking about the middle, but we feel it's really the money spender for the jewelry industry, especially the fine jewelry industry. Here a little like kind of zoom on details and silhouettes, as you can see once again, you know, from flexible wires and cable, which are meant to be stackable, tubing and cables, which are something, let's call it technological components. Everything is technological, very high performance, flexible, elastic, things that turns around. There are incredible company here at T Gold that you might want to, you know, check out. Also nanotechnology. Everything is ceramic, either nanotechnology for metal and colored patina and metals, and or also stones. Nanotechnology in gemstones. So follow technology, because the good design with technology and experience, it really gives you the right product for the right price. We said chokers. Now, flexible and very lightweight chokers, very popular. Stackable and interlocking rings, hoops, very important, different shapes. Macro and big hoops are back since like we saw it like a couple of seasons. Very important note, and I'll tell you, it's a time right now in history where it always happened that way, but now it's like common knowledge. Street style, it's very popular. So things always came from, it's not true the trends come from the catwalks. It's the reverse. Trends always came from the streets, very often from like underprivileged environment, because they're very creative people, because they don't have money. So these things, what is called like, you know, street fashion or subway fashion in New York, you used to call it, which may be a little tacky at the beginning, but now it's finally official, then it's taken as an inspiration by the big maison. And it's not a coincidence then from Gucci to all the other big firms that they're now promoting, they're taking all these ghetto look kids and making it stars, because consumers like to be talking to their own kind. The second, let's say, macro direction in this hyper-individualism is what we call this melted world, like very fluid and soft. When people is asking me, but which color is it going to be this season? Is it going to be yellow gold? Is it going to be white? And my reply, is it going to be only blonde people or only dark people? Is it going to, it's not really a question. To me, my answer is, the colors right now are yellow, pink, but also brown and also oxidated metal. It depends who's your consumer. In the middle market, or medium low, I would say yellow, gold, and white. It depends with diamonds or not. Definitely the trio colors being popular, especially if you want to do stackable pieces. There are, with this nanotechnology, different galvanic. They're bringing multicolor. Of course, it's not for everybody. It's for a consumer that is already sophisticated. But I would say that the trio color is very popular, especially with this concept of selling and stacking. Second important consumer that we associate to this concept of nostalgic maximalism, it's a consumer that, I'm in that category, so that's why I like it in particular, because I'm the older here. So this consumer, it's what we call the middle. And the middle is someone that it's a late bird, meaning that, you know, even though it's 35 to 55, but it's still like they don't take the idea of being old. I mean, in the third millennium, we are not getting, you know, we don't go home very easily. We are young, we look young, we dress in a certain way, and so it's a completely new way of approaching life. Now, this consumer has a very important disposable income. They're wealthy, they like sophistication, they're cultured people, and I like these things. They're saying middle are fighting back against the ideal that middle age is boring. And I like the line of saying the middle are rebranding middle age. Now, these middle ages, is basically fun, and this concept of, we call it maximalism, it's really like dressing up with uniqueness, and they are designed, they are after industrialism and homologation. It's a moment where finally we are back in appreciating, but not a matter of age, it's in general, of good quality pieces. And we are mix and matching what we call high and low, so mixing the high end with the low end, mixing a Zara jacket with an Oscar de la Renta Valentino dress, or sneakers, they are $30, with a shirt that is 30, and then your watch might be 10,000. So it's a different way of being and expressing yourself, and this middle is actually bringing this sophistication also because they have the power of spending. So they crave for desirable product. And so, and they add sophistication and uniqueness. So this concept of, we call it power dressing, which is often associated to the 80s, and this is another note about when in fashion or in style, people associate the 80s are back, the 70s are back. They're not back. That's not true. There are elements. First of all, when we talk about the 80s is one decade. That means from 1980 to 1989. So it's 10 years. In 10 years, there are so many things happening, then even the taste throughout that decade change. So there is a mistake and ignorance when people say, the 70s are back. The 70s, there are elements of one particular moment in history, so let's call it, could be values or aesthetic codes or whatever, they're being re-evaluated and taken forward. So that's what happens. In society, in history, there are things that humanity do, and then for some reason we go from philosophy to science in history, and then all of a sudden, later, and we leave behind certain important topics, and then later on in history we are recuperating certain topics because it's important to evolve that, and then we take it to the next level. So now, by doing that, that happens also in style. But style, it's not something that is done by someone that is deciding it. When time is ready, when history is mature, that things will happen. So if people is ready to wear asymmetric earring, it's not because someone will do an ad and everybody will buy it. It's because people is ready to receive that message because they want to express their own identity. So, Middles are fighting back, like I said, against the ideal of middle age being boring. So therefore, they crave desirable products and they want uniqueness. This concept of power dressing is about having classical pieces restyled with accessories and prospect to make it more cool. Now, it's mentioned that there are some elements from the 80s, but they can be from the 80s, but they can be also from the 70s. So let's be careful and say, the 80s are back. One thing I can say, the hoops were very strong in the 80s, but it's a new hoop. It's not the same hoop. It's not chunky. It's lightweight. It's very delicate. And it's sophisticated. It's third millennium. It's not a déjà vu of the past. Once again, here, we're showing influencers up. Everything is associated to this world. So when we are saying to you that's what's happening, it's not based on my own taste, on my own vision, on my own, no, it's not. Those are like hashtag, love your age, cool ager, middle age, fun, prime of life, fashion for over 40. I mean, there is a lifestyle around these people, and the reason why it's interesting for you to know this, to have this information, because you can talk to them on Instagram. You can talk to them with your website. So the point is, we are giving you all the tools to really go deep into these people, and they will tell you what they want. They will tell you, if you're posting in these hashtags or related to this world, a pair of earring or a pair of something, they will say, I like it or not. It's very important. So now this concept of consumer focus doesn't have to be for elite. It can be done online. It can be done by you. And I believe we're giving you all the tools to be able to succeed and do fantastic strategies for your company. Look, emerging brands, 80s, Laura Lombardi, New York, Treasure, Algea, India. See, as you can see, these people are, it's a very strong phenomenon. Now, in this world, once again, when we were talking about maximalism, this maximalism is like, well, but then what does it mean is deco? Maximalism is about, this is about people that want to have unique, interesting pieces, because they have it all. Because they are in their 40, they have money, they bought maybe a house, or at least somehow they have a decent life. And so if they buy something, they want to have something special. Like me, I don't need anything, I have everything. I'm vintage altogether. But I have, when I buy something that it doesn't have to be expensive. Could be $50, could be $10,000, but it has to be something meaningful to me. So this thing of bold and geometric, I would say, just a product note, a certain type of geometry that they're evolving from deco, and the deco time and style has been very important in high-end fine jewelry, in particular in diamonds, in bridal in particularly. Now it's getting some elements of the 1970s. So this is a note for designers and style and style directors. So certain pattern from the 70s and so they're now also translated into, not only fabric, but enameling, gemstones, certain pattern. There is a revival of certain brands like Marina B, which is Marina Bulgari, which has been, revamped, it's been purchased by my friend Guy de Derrida, which was like, previously at Van Cleef, and then I don't remember his previous brand, but anyway, so there are brands that are being relaunched and revamped from that particular time. So that is very important. But it's important to understand what are these design elements. That doesn't mean that you have to do it, but you need to know what's happening. You might decide that maybe there are certain directions that are suitable for you, and maybe many of them are not. But as you can see, this kind of world is very important. Now, again, pearls, once again, you see in Vicenza and not only, sautoir, or call it Chanel necklaces. Sautoir is the original French name for the long necklaces with station. in this particular case is a symmetric necklace, but there are also asymmetric necklaces, meaning not necessarily exactly the same on both parts. Also because many of these necklaces are meant to be sold and layered together. So there are different lengths. So everything is done in different lengths, short, medium, and very long. There are some women, they're very fashionable, they wear very long necklaces, like in the 30s, and but that's for an extremely sophisticated consumer. And you can find this kind of necklace either in, let's call it fashion jewelry, could be sterling silver and pearls, and or in fine jewelry or bespoke pieces. But as you can see, in unusual caps, so these pearls are not banal, they're not like in the past, they are very bold, very interesting. So, and there is not necessarily one type of pearls, but pearls are in. See? That's it, pearls. So, cuff, as you can see, so this is kind of an overview of what's up. As you can see, there is a constant open ring in the front, tension ring, tension setting, very important. Now, the connected wayfarer. Now, this world of, we've been talking about globalization, we know, but it's always more and more. What's happening now? Migration. I mean, we have strong migration from the south to the north of the world, from east to the west, and that is changing our socio-cultural environment and also our geopolitical areas. So it's changing strongly. That is bringing new codes, new aesthetic codes, and new values. Our clients are different. In Italy, Italians, they are not necessarily the same that they were in the past. In the last 20 years, we became more a multi-ethnic society. And we are integrating, and also the way we are designing and presenting product is different. I'm talking about Italy, but now also I'm going to make it broader throughout Europe and the rest of the world. That is definitely a positive aspect, but it's also creating some tension. We know that. So this element for us is very important, because when we talk about forecasting, we analyze this phenomenon and really extrapolate it to really make it tangible for our businesses. Because sometimes we think that what we hear in the news for like political election, and then when we come to the show, is something completely different. Is not. And in fact, with Jennifer, that she's very much involved with women's rights and ethical jewelry, there is a very strong wave of ethical and sustainable jewelry, because these, consumers, they want to help. Say, okay, I'm spending money. Okay, I don't want to feel that bad. Then I'm spending $1,000 or $500 or $50. If I can help a woman in need or a man in need, can be also a man in this particular case, she's helping women. But at the end of the day, why not? If I can contribute to society by doing something that makes me feel good, it's fantastic. And I know that in the past, the trader, and I'm going to be straight, I know the traders, I know the site holders, I know the guys in the factory, sometimes they don't care. But no, they don't care because they don't have a heart. Because sometimes they have to support their factories. These people also, they have people to maintain locally, they have workers, they have incredible things. So sometimes you have to be kind of shrewd a little bit, because you have to focus. But at the end of the day, it is something that is very important. So this consumer, it's really like the concept of identities and cultural identity is becoming blurred more and more. But at the same time, this concept of globalization, or it's very important. So it's happening all over the world, and it's bringing a new taste, new really like way of buying, and also aesthetics. So this concept of multi-local, we are again talking about blending of culture, religion, manners, and there is a new sense of belonging. Now, as you can see, even here, digital culture is very important. we have identified some of the hashtags. They're limited in our full report. There are many. In this particular case, there is Afrocentric, Afropunk, weather people, but it's not just about Africa or no Africa. It's definitely Africa, but it's also South America, it's also India, it's also, but definitely there are some migration that are stronger than others. And there are even like stereotypes, and all this thing is changing and evolving. So the emerging brands for each, artifacts, Crescioli, California, organic, Puerto Rico. So as you can see, these designers or like emerging brands, they are including local culture, artifacts, and making it fun in a new way, which at the end of the day, they are not even ethnic. They become, it's a new aesthetic altogether. And this is, it's a new exotism. So what does it bring in our, now, in Vicenza? Treated textures, hammered, so this is a very interesting category for this kind of, we are seeing now that there are, yes, polished pieces in a certain things, but there is texture contrast. There is a lot of contrast of texture that could be organic or not, but definitely it's something very, in this particular case, as you can see, rich colors, 18 karat gold in particular, but also oxidated material, as you can see. So there is a little bit of local culture, almost related to local, even historical, whatever is in from. So insignia ring, ancient coins, symbols, everything that is associated to local cultures from all over the world. Texture link, mesh, dark metals, texture again, medallions, cuff. Now, tassel and fringes, they are not really new, but it seems that they are not going out. And there is a great fascination from tassels and fringes in both, so I would say that it's consolidating, like what I'm wearing, you know, something like that. So from China to America to Europe, either is silk or pearls or gemstones or chains. It's something, so many times, sometimes can be versatile, meaning that can be detachable, but every jewelry that can have a statement and can turn and transform into a minimal piece, I would say that take that lead, because today consumer, they want to have versatile jewelry. So they like statements, but they like also the idea that, you know what, I'll remove my tassel and I go to the office. Mixed media are continuing, of course, to grow. You might not necessarily, all of you, pick up on it. It depends what kind of distribution. But by a mixed medium, not only we are mentioning leather and ceramic and fabric and so on, also because you have to have a certain skill for it, but everything that can, even like resins and again, nanotechnology and so on. The tech thinker, but most of all, the retrofuturist. Now, just a note on let's say, this category. Nowadays, we are all techie, or at least we think we are, even though it's not by owning a smartphone that makes us digital. I would say that this is a market segment, or not even I don't like the word market segment. It's a segment of the population that is mainly the millennials, but not necessarily, because he's using technology, but it's becoming more spiritual as well, in the sense that technology, we are finally starting to see also the negative aspect of technology. And so people is becoming more rational, and there are some very strong reactions. So we call it like emotional tech. So we want to detox sometime from technology, because we realize it brings loneliness. And so there are many, young people, but people that they hide behind the screen. And that is not good. So basically, this world of this retro future is trying to take the best from the past, even though we are taking the best of technology and really working and happening and extending our activities through technology by wearing wearable and so on. So even communication nowadays, and think about this, when you're putting together a communication strategy online, the accounts, they are more interesting, and the one that people tell their own stories. If you have a website or a social, any account on Instagram or anything, then it's only about your product, people don't care. People care if you talk about your company or what you do or what you like or what you believe or your family or your children or who you are. It has to be personal. And if they feel they relate, then they will maybe buy it. But if you're only posting your 1-carat ring, your necklace, then they don't care, because it's not what they want. They want to be entertained in an emotional way. Either it could be a beautiful picture, it could be a meaningful moment, it could be the cat. You know that the pets video are like the most viewed on the internet. So this is kind of the reaction to this world. And as you can see, look, hashtags, lonely, sweet cough, mind, body, and spirit. So there is a need for quietness and pure and simple and a new minimalism, which this new minimalism could be even almost, let's call it spiritual. There is a little note. There is something that I wanted to show you here. I think, no, it's not here. I'm sorry. It's in the report. I read it, but I don't see it. That there is like the Buddhist Center in London that has created a program where people that basically register, it reminds you to take a break during the day for yourself, a moment of meditation. This is a way of using technology in a modern way. So how does it translate in product? Purity, simplicity, opals, organic, very simple, but also 3D and colored, metals, because it's very close to what is the palette of technology. So these people are fashionable, but at the same time, they are not just about, the internet. They are smart people. So as you can see, it's about color, simplicity, even here. Now, note about gemstones, and in particular diamonds. Baguettes are strong, very much. It's part of what we call fancy cut. Fancy cut, everything is geometric in a way. It's popular due to the decor style, which is being strong, and all these things of geometry evolved. So organic clusters, and by organic I mean uneven, organic, not symmetric. Everything is not symmetric, as you can see even here, with round, but baguettes are very popular. Black and white, in this world of, again, tech, this black and white world, very clean, very sharp, very sleek, is popular. And again, very quick recap. AD design, cluster, diamond clusters, organic surfaces, but you see macro pavé, ceramic. Everything is very techno in a way, but in a very sophisticated, warm way. So it's about emotional technology, and it's not about being cold. Last but not least, we're proud to have introduced men. Because from like years, people were saying, well, but what about men? We never talk about men, but men, it's like now more than ever, they're wearing not only jewelry, but they wear everything. So it's about stereotypical traits are beginning to feel dated. The new men seek a more fluid approach to what it means to be a modern man today and tomorrow. So we just ended, you know, Fashion Week, Men Fashion Week in Italy, in Florence and in Milano. I believe maybe Marco Pioli from Fashion Illustrated is here. If he's not, anyway, if he's here, ciao. And so this is very interesting because now you, the traders, they have to, you know, look at this and create jewelry for these men, which are not necessarily the simple banding gold, only the cufflinks, but something new and something more interesting. So this is already happening. It's not really something that is fading away. Of course, now in this particular, we call it slide, of course, we see very fashionistas men. But basically, New Yorker Magazine launched a new vertical called Beta, male named after the transitional state of masculinity, which is still in beta. And so basically, it's a more like, I don't want to call it necessarily feminine, sensitive, because of course some men, they feel like, oh my God, it's feminine. I don't like to be feminine. But let's call it sensitive. And it's more millennial, and not necessarily as associated to a demographic, but to a way of being. And this fluid approach to life is also bringing a new elegance and a new style. Of course, in some culture is coming sooner than others, but it's coming. That's what it is. As you can see, hashtag under stereotypes, modern masculinity, toxic masculinity, masculinity is so fragile, all men can. So start browsing on the internet, because at the end of the day, you don't have to care about this value, but you might want to sell them. You know, it's like, well, I'm a man, I'm like, I don't care about this. But you might want to sell the bracelet, the earrings, whatever you want to sell it, right? So you need to know where these people buy, which website they are interested in, who's doing advertising in these profiles. You want to know that. What are like the website that will buy certain jewelry? What kind of dressing? So you can be able to profile this consumer very easily with the information that I'm giving you. And then will be up to you if you want to follow it or not. But this is here to stay. Actually, when we hear, look, slick lines, this is something unisex. So and now we're going back to genderless, you know, when we were talking about, you know, there is like this unisex world, which is very important. So polish and satin metal, geometric design and surfaces. Now, men are now wearing more and more diamonds. Either can be white or black or brown. But also, I've seen also beautiful things, believe it or not, men with pearls. You need to be very sophisticated, very confident, but there are jewelry with pearls for men. So, insignia rings, everything. Now, the tattooing, which is not popular among, let's say, the older generation, but tattooing is very big among the youngsters, women and men. And as you can see, in a way, sometimes jewelry, they echo or they kind of balance out a certain look. And this is very important to see the styling. Now, let me do a little highlight on the concept of styling. Styling is really what the stylists do to really combine, mix and match products. Could be on a table, could be the way you're dressed. So everything today is about styling. So when you purchase for your company or you are creating a collection, remember that this product has to be easily styled by the consumer. Do not dictate your own way, but do it with your own taste, but create product that the consumer can style. Contemporary pattern and symbols. And so, as you can see, finally, a recap on men. Now, I conclude my presentation. I hope I didn't bore you. What I can tell you is that we are going to share many information from now until June with you. complementary. So we need your advice. We are very humble. We listen to you. Our next presentation will be in Hong Kong in March. So if you're there, please join us. We'll do a consumer update for China, some interesting news. And from June onward, we'll be launching TRENDVISION Jewelry Forecasting subscription. I thank you for being here, and I wish you a wonderful year ahead. Thank you. Thank you. All right.